Good day, everyone.
I was born and raised in Detroit. Growing up there, I saw people like me running things.
This is a courtroom, not a circus, so we're gonna calm down.
I'm sorry.
What I found there was a passion that I didn't know existed.
This is the bottom line.
I'm excited to free fall into the limitless possibilities with we the people. So many are fearful of the law. They think it's something that works against them.
I think you need to begin to accept responsibility for your mistakes.
We are the people.
Lisa Fawn claims her designer clothes were given away by a wannabe stylist who promised to sell them.
All rise.
Sarah Point says she donated the clothes after Ms. Fawn ignored her texts saying nobody was buying them.
Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge LimeLight presiding.
Please be seated.
All parties have been sworn in, Your Honor.
Thank you, Elijah. Good day, everyone.
Good day.
This is the case of Fawn versus Point. Ms. Fawn, you were suing Ms. Point for $1,125. You say the defendant donated your clothes without your consent. Is that correct?
Correct.
The defendant, you say that the plaintiff abandoned the clothes.
Correct.
All right, let's start from the beginning. Ms. Fawn, what happened?
I hired Miss Point, Sarah, as a stylist, a photographer, through my Pilates instructor, who said that she was new in town. I was trying to be very nice and give a young girl a start in Los Angeles. I had just purchased a beautiful new condominium. I had a lot of things I needed to discard. She came to my home 4 Saturdays out of February. She was able to eliminate so many of my items that were never going to fit in my new home. She donated 5 bags of clothes. She kept 5 bags, and we agreed that 10% of whatever she made on those clothes that she could keep, and she would just forward me the money on every sale.
Okay.
And she did do that. But at the very end, she changed the agreement and decided to take it upon herself. And since she did not finish selling all of the clothes, she just decided on her own to donate them. Now, the clothes are very expensive. They were designer clothes.
Your Honor?
Excuse me.
Do you have pictures or receipts for those clothes? May I see that, please?
Your Honor, those clothes were not designers' clothes, and I did not change the agreement. I gave her 30 days notice after hearing nothing from her, and then I didn't hear back for 6 weeks, over 30 days notice. I consider them to be abandoned. That is true.
No, it's not.
All right, so you're saying she gave you the clothes and then she never contacted you again about the clothes?
Yes, they weren't selling.
But was the agreement that you contacted her once they were sold?
Yes, so I did. 4 items sold. And by the way, I actually lost money doing this. I was making 10%, so that was just the shipping costs of doing this, and I was spending hours at thrift stores. But aside from that...
So why would you make that deal? Why would you agree to do that if you were not making any money?
It was a bad deal, and I didn't think I'd be storing the clothes. I had agreed to sell them for her.
How were you going to sell them? You thought she was going to keep them and you were just going to upload them online? What was the actual agreement? Does anybody have that reflected in a writing? I see pictures of clothes, but I don't see an agreement.
I have text messages.
Well,
and then I have also, they're time-stamped.
Well, Judge, it was an implied agreement, and she expressed it through actually selling the clothes, and she actually expressed the agreement through giving me consideration and sending me the money. The agreement was to continue selling them until they were actually sold. There was never an agreement.
Hey, just went to multiple consignment stores, sold some things, going to send you the money. Take your 10%. It was going well then. Hey, just sold some things. All right. Didn't realize how pricey shipping was. Took my whole 10%. So at that point, why would you ever take the shipping costs out of your 10% instead of out of the remaining 90% of profit that was hers? What sense does that make?
I thought that's what I was supposed to do.
How? How could you think that?
She took more than what she could chew.
How could you let her think that?
Well, when you get into business with someone or do an agreement with someone, you have to take responsibility. I don't care if your age is 20 or whether you're 60.
But if you had to take responsibility, then why didn't you respond to my messages about your clothes?
Ms. Fawn, as a woman of a certain age, respectfully, you know good and well that's just straight robbery. You know how much it costs to ship clothes. How is she going to take 10% of the cost and pay all the shipping out of the 10%?
With all due respect, Judge, the shipping costs were never negotiated. I made an agreement with her.
That's the point. That's the point.
That was
If
why
they were, you just proved my point.
Coming up.
So you're getting over on her. But go ahead.
Well, you know, she's got her little training pants on and she wants to play with the big girls, and, you know, this is a good way for her to learn.
Your
isn't
Honor,
it?
this is not what I do for work.
Oh,
this was just supposed
God.
to be a small side gig.
Ms. Fawn, please keep going, because it's going to be so easy to rule against you.
And later.
It's a 2-day festival, so I take 2 days off of work. And the day of the festival, he stops me as I get there, and he says he wants to kick me out of the band entirely.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching Emmy-nominated We the People with Judge Lauren Lake. We're back with a dispute between Lisa Fawn and Sarah Point over donated designer clothing.
You didn't negotiate that. You tell her, take your 10%. In my mind, that means that's 10% of the profit made. You didn't say, take your 10% minus the shipping in your text.
Well, that's just bad business on her part,
No,
not on
that's
my
bad
part.
business on yours.
How so?
Because you said take your 10%.
Correct.
You didn't say minus the shipping costs it takes to ship. So it's clear from the exchange, you really didn't expect her to pay that shipping because you know you were supposed to pay the shipping.
I determined it was just a good
let
business
her
deal.
do
It
it
was
because
all-inclusive.
she
Don't
was too
interrupt the judge.
inexperienced to know. So you're getting over on her. But go ahead.
Well, you know, she's got her little training pants on and she wants to play with the big girls, and, you know, this is a good way for her to learn.
Your
isn't
Honor,
it?
this is not what I do for work.
Oh,
this was just supposed
God.
to be a small side gig.
Ms. Fawn, please keep going, because it's going to be so easy to rule against you. Go ahead, Ms. Point.
So after about 5 months, it was clear the rest of the clothes were not going to sell. The algorithm was pushing them down. They were not even on
And
the
so
sale
what do
page
you
of the
do?
website.
What do you
So
do?
I contacted Miss Fawn. I said, hey, the clothes aren't selling. She didn't respond to me. I have 3 text messages. I said, hey, what should
Did
I
you
do with
send me
them?
those text messages?
Yes, they're in my folder. And I waited 30 days after not hearing from her. I messaged her twice after that, and she didn't respond for 6 weeks.
And then you do come back and say sorry about delay. So you do acknowledge in your text message that there was a delay in responding. About how long was that delay?
6 weeks.
About 6 weeks. You agree with the 6 weeks, Ms. Fawn?
I do.
Okay. And then after not hearing from her for 6 weeks, you decided to go then and donate the clothes.
Yes.
And did you all have an express agreement about what happens when the clothes don't sell? Did
No.
you ever discuss that?
We had no storage contract.
You had no storage contract?
No.
It was to continue until everything was sold, since they were beautiful, elegant designer clothes that
They were
would
not
sell.
designer clothes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I've looked through it. Whether they were designer or they not, they had value because they were going to be sold. So this is this court's opinion. I do believe, Ms. Fawn, you could have done a better job at kind of giving more guidance. I think you are a seasoned professional, and it's interesting to me that you would enter in such an agreement like this, and it feels a little lopsided to me. And what's concerning this court is, I think you knew, number one, that this young woman was really not that experienced, because you said, I'll just give her a shot. Number two, she was taking on shipping costs that you know she shouldn't take on, because that technically should be deducted out of what you were making and not what she was making. And I also think that you as a businesswoman would have been smart enough to know that it is really in your interest to leave this open-ended like this. Because now you don't have to have all this stuff you don't want in your house. You can have it laying over there at her house indefinitely for the last year, because you know that you don't have that clause in the agreement. instead of saying, as we make this agreement, if the clothes don't sell after a certain amount of time, I would like this to happen or that. And I do feel like you did take advantage of her lack of experience, and your tone as when you started testifying indicated that to me. There was a slight bit of bad faith, ridicule, and did you all catch it? Yes. It just didn't feel right. Unfortunately, in this court, I can't just rule on my feelings, because if that was the case, I would have just said, you know what? You know you didn't want them clothes anyway. That's why you left out of the country and just left them. But the truth is, you still, at 6 weeks, that amount of time, the clothes still technically belong to you. However, I do believe the shipping and all of the other things, the mileage, the gas she spent, and those things should have been compensated. And so therefore, it's the ruling of this court that you should be responsible for the shipping of those items that she already shipped. So judgment for the plaintiff for $1,025. Court is adjourned.
All rise.
Judge Lake has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant owes $1,025.
Any final thoughts for each other?
Well, when you want to play with the big girls, you better take off your training pants.
The devil doesn't wear Prada.
No, she wears Givenchy.
You've had your day in court. Please grab your belongings and follow me. And go this way.
Coming up.
Okay, why did you fire her?
Well, the culmination of all this was there was a festival, and that's what we were kind of getting ready for. And in this festival,
Don't say festival again.
Okay.
Why did you fire him?
We
was jealous.
We were getting set up on this festival, and he showed up.
I knew he was gonna say it, so I was just trying to stop him. Go ahead.
You're watching Emmy-nominated We the People with Judge Lauren Lake. Kel Castro claims he lost an important gig with a band when he was kicked out at the last minute by a jealous musician. Mike Stanton says Mr. Castro agreed to the group's rehearsal schedule, but was constantly late.
Good day, everyone.
Day.
This is the case of Castro versus Stanton. Mr. Castro, you are suing Mr. Stanton for $400. You say the defendant kicked you out of the band and owes you lost wages. Is that correct?
So 3 months in, he says that we are playing this big festival. And so I take off work immediately. It's a 2-day festival, so I take 2 days off of work. And the day of the festival, he stops me as I get there, and he says he wants to kick me out of the band entirely.
Why?
He says that I didn't show up to enough practices. He says that I was late, and
You were late.
well, he schedules
30
these
minutes.
surprise practices. We had agreed already to 1 to 2 practices a week, and I could make that happen, right? It's Tuesday, Wednesday, I'd be working, but then I would go straight to the practice, and then out of nowhere, he starts springing these surprise practices
For the festival,
2 hours
Your
in
Honor.
advance.
It was for the festival.
All right, so you get booked at a festival. You want to put in some extra practice work.
Yep.
You normally practice once or twice a week.
Yep.
But now you wanted to up it a little bit so you can get prepared.
Yeah, we need more cohesion.
And so then Mr. Castro couldn't make those practices?
Well, he made some of them, he was late for a few, and then he just skipped
Well, was
a few.
he late for the regular practices, or was he late for the practices that you scheduled extra?
He was late for both.
All right.
Yeah.
And
That's
so what
not
you say?
all the time, but he
you
was
say
late for
he
all the
broke
extras.
rules. What are the rules?
Well, the rules are, promote yourself on social media, just have fun, but also just don't be a disruption, and most importantly, make practice and
All
be
right.
there and not be late.
Coming up,
You two lackadaisical. You two indifferent for me.
you're watching Emmy-nominated We the People with Judge Lauren Lake. We're back with the case of Kel Castro, who blames Mike Stanton for a lost band gig.
Okay, and so are these rules written down when you join the band? Do you do a contract?
We had a verbal agreement, Your Honor.
Just a verbal agreement. So
Yes.
there's no contract.
No.
None of this is written down. You just kind of say to them, hey, make sure you're at practice on time. If you're not at practice on time, you're going to get fired.
Yeah, and all the other band members are down with it. There's 4 others that are always on
Why are you
time.
late to practice, Mr. Castro?
Okay, so he's lying about that. I only showed up late to the surprise practices. I work 10 to 6, and usually the 7 to 8...
What's a surprise practice? You mean the extra practices?
The extra practices.
Okay.
But it's a surprise because he's only telling me 2 hours in advance.
All right, so you're saying last minute.
Last minute.
They're just last minute. Did you call a practice 2 hours earlier?
I did, Your Honor. However, when he came in the band, I said, you can be flexible, right? If we need to do some more catch-up to get you up to speed because we have a festival, and he said, yes, I can do that. You can come into these extra practices, and he said, yes, I can.
But if you gave him 2 hours notice, you understand that if he had to work or he had something to do, like he may not be right on time. Is it fair to fire somebody when they're late to a practice that you just called 2 hours before?
Well, that wasn't the reason of firing him.
Okay, why did you fire him?
Well, the culmination of all this was there was a festival, and that's what we were kind of getting ready for. And in this festival,
Don't say festival again.
Okay.
Why did you fire him?
He was
jealous.
We were getting set up on this festival, and he showed up.
I knew he was going to say it, so I was just trying to stop him. Go ahead.
He was 30 minutes late, and we were ready to go. Everyone else had been there on time. Everyone else was a half hour early.
But you fire him on the day, so you did the whole show without guitar?
No, we had a backup.
Where was the backup?
He was playing in a band later in the day, so I called him up. So he's 15 minutes late. I called him up. He didn't answer his phone. He said he was driving or in traffic or something. And then I called the other guy that was in our band before. He was at the festival, and he said, yeah, I'll come do it.
Judge Lake's verdict when We the People returns. You're watching Emmy-nominated We the People with Judge Lauren Lake.
Why were you running late?
I didn't expect the traffic, to be honest, Your Honor.
Okay, so you didn't expect there to be that much traffic.
No, I didn't expect.
But unfortunately, this wasn't the first time.
This wasn't the first time for regular practice.
You two lackadaisical. You two indifferent for me. You two indifferent for me. Who can be late to gig after gig after gig and not expect to be fired? I think you can.
Well, Your Honor,
That's just not how it works in that business. And you know what? You just happen to have a judge that's been in that business. It doesn't fly. With that said, judgment for the defendant, the plaintiff's complaint is dismissed. Court is adjourned.
All rise.
Judge Lake has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's case is dismissed.
Any final thoughts for each other?
Well, I'm glad you're out of the band. Now we're going to make some money.
I feel that was wrong.
Okay, please grab your belongings and follow me.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.